And the intent today, and I appreciate everyone joining over a late lunch meeting today, is really to showcase some real actionable items that you can take back to your teams and your hiring managers and your HR folks, and just ensure that as we continue to make our way through this very unusual working dynamic that we're all in, that when we invest so many weeks and months into hiring the right person, oh my gosh, I love it. I love the dogs. When we spend so much time investing in finding the right person, that once we've found them, we're placing as much emphasis on onboarding and making sure that we're creating that long-term partnership within the organization. So it's about 12:32. I think I already have this recording for anyone that signed up but isn't able to join. I don't see anyone else waiting. I will keep my eyes on the waiting room. So again, there we go. See? Do you have access to that too, Leslie?
I do, yeah.
Okay, cool. Perfect. Okay, so if I miss someone and I'm talking and vice versa, we'll just keep letting people in here. So welcome to everyone. We're at 12:33, so we are going to kick this off because it's only going to be a half-hour action-packed, valuable onboarding excellence discussion. I'm Megan Krift with Vaco Cincinnati. I oversee our executive search practice here, and I am joined today by a client, colleague, and friend of Vaco Cincinnati, Leslie Arian of RBI Solar. So as I mentioned, today is all about ensuring that during this wild ride of 2020, the investment we're making when we do have the opportunity to add new talent is not lost because we're 6 feet apart and we're at home half the time, and we're at home all the time, right? So Leslie and I worked together beginning of the year and then through the beginning of the COVID bubble hitting, and we onboarded someone to her team. It was a process of virtual and all of that. And, when it hit me a couple months ago, many of you might have seen the LinkedIn video that I put out there, really just asking like, hey, what are we doing differently? We've got to be doing something different during these crazy times. We can't treat our new hires and our new FTEs the way we always did, because the workplace looks so different. Where most of us are at home right now. There might be a dog on our lap. We might have children. There's just so many different dynamics. So it got me thinking about onboarding and how to ensure once that offer is accepted and before their first day, and then throughout their entire career with you, there is a true roadmap to success. So Leslie has successfully onboarded 3 people to her team in accounting during this crazy year, and beautifully, I might add, and she shares the same passion as I do on how to truly make this a win-win for all parties. So I'm going to turn it over to Leslie to kind of talk about what she's experienced and how she's had so much success in onboarding during this time. And thank you all for coming.
Thanks, Megan, and thanks everyone for joining. Yeah, it has been a wild ride, and as I think back and reflect upon, onboarding and we say 3, I technically hired one of them in February. So she at least got a month. She got a month in our office before we had to go virtual. And that was a team expansion role. But then, so other 2 employees that we've hired and onboarded in the remote environment. So, sorry, Megan, I should let you take that.
I got her. Yeah, you're fine.
So really, as I reflect on that, the biggest concern of mine was really how do I expose these new hires to our culture? Because the culture at our company is one of our biggest strengths, and it's something that I want people to feel a part of and engaged with. So that has always been the first thing on my mind as we've gone through this experience. So when I look back through all of the takeaways and all of the stuff that we've learned and grown from in this environment, I think I can summarize it into 3 main categories, which I'm going to say: engage early, engage often, and let them fly. So engage early, just to expand a little bit on each of those. Engage early. This is, for me, it was reaching out before the candidate started. So after I had the employee accept their offer, there was a good 4, maybe 5 weeks, some of those between the time when they accepted their offer and then started with us. So I had the opportunity with a few of these employees to share just some fun stuff that we had done as a management team. So as a management team, we had made a cute little video. It was just supposed to be lighthearted and funny. And, we miss you guys in the office and here we are working remote. But we had done that and published it internally. And I went ahead and shared that with the new hires. So really making them feel like they're a part of the team before they're physically there, or not physically there, but before they're technically a part of your company, going ahead and making them feel like they're part of the team before they join. And then doing the prep work up front. So I'll put this under engage early. So making sure that before day one of the employee getting here, I had their goals laid out. So what do I expect from this person in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days? Just so they have that understanding when they come on. What does it mean for me to succeed here as a new employee? So that was huge. And all of these points I've actually discussed with our new employees, and they agree. This was a lot of the points that have really helped them feel great about their new role here at RBI Solar. So the next part, so after engaging early, is engaging often. If I had to rank one of the most important, I think I would put this one as the highest importance, engaging often. So this one is probably the hardest to do and the most important. So for us, the way we got around this engaging often is, first of all, the employees' first week on site. The first week with our business, I had them come on site and I came on site with them. We sat far enough apart and we maintained social distancing, but we could each screen share, so we could talk, but we could also screen share. So if I wanted that person to maybe shadow a spreadsheet I was working in so that they could learn how to do it themselves and drive in tandem with me, they could do it on their computer while I was. So just kind of being there physically present in case they need something, because for some reason, being there physically present, you just feel more accessible. So really setting the stage for that person, like, hey, I'm here. You can see how I work and operate day in and day out. So don't hesitate, when we're not here physically, just call me whenever you want, reach out to me on Teams. Teams has been amazing. It's one of the tools that I think really set us up to succeed during this time. Not that I'm putting a plug in for that product or anything, but it really has truly helped us. So yeah, that if you can be on site for that first week or so, I think that was really great in setting the stage. Morale check-ins, we continue to do, like, as the manager of my group, we do weekly or bi-weekly or twice a week morale check-ins, just for me to remember to say, hey guys, how's it going? Because you're not getting that, water cooler talk in the office, and just making sure that we stay engaged. And usually it's just a Teams meeting chat where I'll reach out to everybody, like, how are we doing today? Anybody want to chat? What's going on? And then we have live virtual chats every other week. Sometimes weekly, sometimes every other week, that just say, what are we all doing? So really, for that new employee, making them part of the group, soak up that culture, and see how we're all working and how their piece fits into the whole overall. The other part of engaging often that I kind of did early on was virtual happy hours. My new employee was actually comfortable with setting up the virtual happy hour and leading it. And rather than just a bunch of us just getting on here and blabbing about, whatever we could think of at the time, we actually set up an agenda. So my new hire reached out to each of the teammates and said, give me 2 interesting facts about yourself. And so then on the virtual meeting, he would read them off, and we all had to try and guess who they were about. And he kind of kept a tally on a point system, like, here's who guessed the most right and whatnot. I love that. It was really fun, and it was a nice lighthearted way to do a little, happy hour while we're all in the comfort of our own homes, safe and, relaxing for everyone, but still really nice to join. And we've tried to maintain those. We do at least, once a month. We'll get together and still do those virtual happy hours and switch up the topics, but kind of same idea. So that's worked really well. And then, lastly, let them fly. So I think by doing my homework early on up front and giving them the goals up front, and the resources, that was another thing, doing my homework up front so that when my employees started on the first day, I just sent them a long email that had links, like, here's all the files you're going to use, here's the folders you'll want to save as your favorites, here's the places online, here's the links where you want to go, here's the people who are going to be key people for you to reach out to. So it was kind of a one-stop shop with links to each of the resources that would really help them and be necessary for them to do their jobs. And then also, if you have documented procedures, I also included that in that email. So any of our procedures, in a controller role, we've got a lot of, SOX control processes, and, just giving them access to all our SOX controls, those matrices, just anything that they can kind of absorb and digest. And especially that first week, having some time when they can digest that on their own. So if there was ever a time when I was busy and couldn't be there training with him full time, he had plenty of stuff, he or she, 2 different instances, had plenty of stuff to kind of keep them engaged and keep them going, and they could read that, digest it, and then come back to me with questions. And that worked really well. So again, setting the stage, setting the goals, and then letting them fly. So obviously catering your management style to each employee's style. So, kind of in those first few weeks, feeling them out. Do they just want me to give them the big picture and just kind of toss them in the right direction and let them run? Or do they want a detailed step-by-step instruction of how to do each thing? So, and sometimes the same person can lean toward one of those styles in one moment and another style in a different, depending on the project that we're working on. So really working with that and catering that to the individual has been great. So yeah, and then trusting that you've done the training, after a month or so, that you've done the training up front, and then just letting that employee do what you hired them to do. Let them fly. I've been so lucky. I've been so lucky that I found the right people. We got them in, we onboarded, we trained, and they did. They just kind of took off. And now when you invest that time up front, now I've got a team that really lifts me up, and they're making my life easier. So it's been great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. And that is certainly, am I echoing to anyone?
Not to me.
Just me.
Perfect. Oh, Bill says yes, you are echoing to him. Am I echoing also?
Mm-mm.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I wasn't echoing earlier. Is that better? Is there an echo?
Oh, still an echo. Oh, I think better. Thumbs up is better.
Better, Bill. Oh no! How odd. Okay. Well.
So you don't echo now, but then the other woman was. Like it's flip-flopping.
Maybe go on mute, Leslie.
Oh.
Do I echo now, my friends? There we go. Thank you so much. Okay, that's all it took. So again, as I mentioned, we usually have our beautifully talented marketing director, Cassie, to help facilitate this. So we are on the fly today. But Leslie, thank you so much for being so transparent and sharing what has worked. I'll circle back to this. And again, today was meant to be a lot more providing actual data points to you all. You can drop, and that's what I'm going to check right now. You can drop questions in the chat. We just want to be very timely today. We will wrap up right before 1 o'clock. Leslie or I can get with you on any specific questions. I do want to mention a few things that I've seen. So again, in my role, partnering with organizations, partnering with managers like Leslie. And that's what I wanted to point out. Everything what Leslie just described is what she took ownership as the hiring manager to these new hires, right? So sometimes when I put out onboarding, people immediately dismiss me as that's what HR does, or we have an HRIS for that, or they click through this. And I always kind of come back and it's like, no. I'm referring to who is owning the roadmap to success for this new hire. And I'm asking that to my CFO, my controller, whoever I'm working with, who is truly the one responsible to make sure that this person is going to be successful. Oh, I'm sorry, I saw a question and then I lost out. So that's one part that I want to just point out the fact that, this isn't an HR leader who just shared. This is someone as a hiring manager, and I hope anyone who's in a hiring capacity would take that same ownership and set those same clear expectations for their new hire. Something that, again, in 2020 that we've all had to be a little bit more empathetic and understanding about are people's personal situations. So I've had folks start new jobs. They might have a spouse who's an essential worker. They may have children in the thresholds of middle school with virtual learning and all of what that might entail. So ensuring that as you hire someone, that you really are getting to know them from a human perspective and what their work life now looks like, because it's kind of the same thing, especially if you're fully remote. And what is that going to do to their onboarding that could potentially cause some distraction, just cause some added challenges, and being very transparent between the two of you, what's going to work. And Leslie did mention it, I don't know if she realized it, it's like, I'm always available, right? So I think there is an element of owning the success and owning the training of your new hire to ensure that they feel that level of attention. I am available to you. I hired you. I want you. You're going to be amazing. And I'm here to ensure that happens. How can we work well together from day one? I always say too, onboarding starts when the offer is accepted and the signed offer letter is sent back to the organization. You have to detail everything as simple as where do you go from your first day, what time are you arriving, all of those little obvious things, the hours that you'd expect this person to work. But then also I kind of say, let's be honest, within a workplace and a work culture and even a dynamic of a team, there's also kind of those unwritten rules. And I think being very transparent on what some of those would be as well as you onboard this person is, hey, we don't always step away for lunch, or sometimes like we log off on Fridays at 3 or just whatever, so they feel they're not like the new kid on the block, like, oh, I didn't know we did that, right? So just being aware of what the unwritten rules are in your team or in your organization. I had a client recently do this, and it just like wowed me. So I have to share it, but they put together right after the offer was accepted, it was going to be a long, wait time before this person officially started. And they put together a swag bag of logoed stuff of their organization and mailed it to their home. I don't know that that's something they did before this virtual world, but maybe it was. I just love that as a best practice to, again, it's coming to your home, your family seeing, again, it elevates your level of excitement and passion for this new organization you're joining. And then something else that's come up, because again, I've spent time over the last couple of months, I don't want to say interviewing some of my clients, but really understanding what works well. And, Leslie, I know we teased like, her hires have been love fests, right? It has been like the true, like match made in heaven, right? But I've been doing this long enough to know that's not always the case, right? So when you're onboarding someone new in a virtual climate and you sense a disconnect, right? The expectations that you've set are not being met. You're not seeing this person every day to where you could potentially have a quick, hey, can we rap about that? I think, again, no different than everything, engaging early, having those tough conversations the minute that you notice something going a little bit off track is only gonna help. And Leslie, I don't know if you can speak to that a little bit as a hiring manager, if you've had to, or how you would address just those little maybe miscommunications or missteps in this setting. If you've had any, you may not have had any.
I can't think of any that come to mind.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard of some, and I've witnessed some with clients that have onboarded during this time. And the advice that I give is that, being as overly communicative as possible is always the answer. And I'm going to stop and peep at my chat right now because we've had some questions come in. Okay.
Yeah, to speak to the first one, that's a really cool idea. We don't do that, but an onboarding call for spouses and family members, we have those resources, but we usually only communicate to the employee directly. We don't get on a call with their family members, but that's actually a pretty cool idea, I think.
I like that as well, Bill. That's an interesting, especially when you get into leadership level positions, right? So I even moving across the country right now with his family, and I'm like it's a very big move, big life change for everyone involved. And and I'm very blessed in that organization. I have both a very, very engaged hiring manager and I have a very, very engaged HR partner, and we're kind of all hugging the new hire together until he starts late November. But it is that constant communication, that constant engagement, the level of comfort, and then confidence that you've made the right decision, right? So until someone's on board, those first, I've been with Vaco Cincinnati now over 3.5 years. I am very intrigued, and if you guys, this might be a fun little poll, but when you joined whatever organization you're in today, how long was it before you felt like you were home, right? I left a company after 10 years. It took me some time until I felt like this organization was home, and I think that's something that also plays into it when our psyches are so, there's a lot out there right now from just a life perspective in 2020 that can distract you. I think the more that we can do as leaders in organizations to really help people feel comfortable and confident in the decision they just made to join an organization and really wrap our arms around them, it's only going to lead to that ongoing and long-term success. No one hires with the intention that they're only going to be there 6 or 12 months, ever. You want to invest for the long haul. If there's any other questions, drop them in the chat. Leslie, am I missing anything from our pre-calls that we really wanted to make sure we handled? I hope that you guys have found some real life examples of what's been working well and what could work better the next time you hire. I'll let anything I've missed, let me know.
I can't think of anything you've missed, but as I sit here and think about other things that went well that might be worth sharing, that I forgot to say earlier. One thing that my new employees really liked is, so at RBI Solar, we're a part of a much larger organization. So we've got a lot of sister companies that roll up to the public company that we're a part of. So call it luck or the stars aligning, but on my assistant controller's first day at this company, we had 3 meetings on his first day that were just perfect. So any way that you can do something like this, I think it worked really well. So the first meeting we had was a company-wide meeting with all of our sister companies that was just a town hall, and it's led by the CEO of the public company. And those are really informal. So that was really nice because it gives these new hires that are, in these uncharted territories at a new company, trying to not only learn the company, but do it in the COVID environment, which is new for all of us. These town hall meetings, we're really lucky because our CEO is very forthcoming, like, here's what's going on, here's how we're handling it. And it puts all of our employee base at ease because we're all a part of it. And he always does a live Q&A. So, the thousands of employees that are part of this organization can all talk directly to our CEO. And he tries to do that like every 2 weeks. So that was really cool because he got exposure to the overall company at a in the larger picture. And then that same day, we happened to have a quarterly update internally just to the RBI family of companies, our portfolio. So that's the quarterly update that, gives the financials, here's how we're doing, here, all of that jazz. So that was cool because it gave him a next step down, still the RBI family of companies, but had a nice meeting to give him exposure to those players and those topics. And then later on that day, his first day, it was a Friday. So at 4:00 on a Friday, I just set up an informal happy hour with the management team. So myself and all of my peers and all the people that he'll be working with, and just gave him exposure to each of the managers of each of the different, departments, the sales, the ops, HR, R&D, all the different departments, so that he could at least know who the managers were, which enables him to have a face with a name. Here's who I reach out to for what. And if it's not that person, they'll direct me to the person in their group, and then so on and so forth. But it was really nice for him. I know he really loved having the 3-tiered meetings all on his first day. And I couldn't have controlled all that. I couldn't have made that happen on my own. I just kind of got lucky. The only one that I actually made happen was the management team kind of happy hour that we set up. But if you can do something like that early on, that's really nice too, not just for your new hires, but for your existing employee base also.
Absolutely. I love that. And that was something that we talked about very early on in discussing this event, was that, just the importance of seeing people's faces, right? You know, even on this call, there's only a few of us that are on video. It does, you know, I tease people like, oh, I've already met them. And I'm like, oh, you met them virtually. Now it's like a different level of meeting someone, right? You've met them, but then you've met them in person. But you get so much of who someone is. Our AC kicks on and it's super loud. But to that point, I think if, you know, depending on what role this person is entering the organization, you know, getting them, hi Rita, giving them the faces, right? And making sure that they do get to meet who is going to be their stakeholders and their teammates, because you do, if you're going to be primarily remote for the duration of your onboarding, or 6 months or 12 months, you've got to get to know these folks. So we are right before 1 o'clock, and I just want to say thank you so much to Leslie for being so transparent and open and sharing her successes. Thank you for the comments, and thank you all for attending. If we can help you in any way to make sure that your next hire is onboarded as successful as possible, please don't hesitate to reach out to us, and stay healthy out there. Have a good rest of the week. Bye, everyone.
Good job, Leslie. Good job, Megan. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Bye.